This is Oklahoma's own News on 6 with breaking news.
And we begin with breaking news. The Tulsa bomb squad, along with Sperry police and fire, detonated a homemade explosive device found in the trunk of a car tonight.
We first told you about the breaking news during our 9 o'clock news over on the Tulsa CW and through our breaking news push alerts. News on 6 reporter Taylor Newcomb's on the scene tonight. Taylor, what's the update for us?
Well, Scott and Terry, like you said, the device has been detonated at this time. When we arrived on the scene around 9, we heard a loud gunshot. Sperry Police Department has confirmed to me that that was them detonating the device. They say it did not explode at that time, which is, of course, good news. Just to give you a better idea of where we are here in Sperry, we're in the 200 block of West Birch. Sperry police officers stopped the vehicle around 4:30 this afternoon. With the consent from the driver, they were able to search it. The officer tells me that they were originally searching for narcotics. While they were searching the car, they found an explosive device in the trunk. At that time, several agencies did respond to the scene, including, like you said, the TPD bomb squad, Sperry Fire, the FBI, and Sperry Police. Officer had the area contained, and they did evacuate people from their homes around here earlier this evening as a safety precaution. They're still waiting on the all clear from them yet, and they're still gathering evidence, but at this time there's no other reason to be concerned and no other problems. That's what the Sperry Police told me. Now, the passenger of the car is in custody. He had other warrants out through Osage County. The driver, all of that, is his fate is being handled by the ATF, and they're going to take the investigation from here. Live in Sperry, Taylor Newcomb, News on 6.
Well, get ready for more cuts to state agencies, schools, and universities. Oklahoma is in another revenue failure, with the legislature having $878 million less to spend on this year's budget. This is the third consecutive year with a budget shortfall and the second for a revenue failure. That shortfall means more than $11 million in general education cuts and more than $39 million fewer dollars than expected in the Education Reform Revolving Fund, which is money solely dedicated to public schools.
Annie Chang has been on this story since it broke this afternoon and joins us live now to break down what it means. Annie?
Well, Terry and Scott, school districts say they were not surprised. They knew these cuts were coming, but that doesn't mean they're not worried. All across the state, school districts are trying to avoid more cuts. Union Public Schools already eliminated 48 positions last May, and this state revenue failure could not come at a worse time.
We have difficulty filling our teaching positions, and this is the point in the year when we really need to be planning and staffing for next year. This makes it doubly difficult to do that. Lawmakers announced the revenue failure means $11.1 million in cuts to common education from the general fund and $39.2 million in cuts from the Education Reform Fund. That means public school districts are dealing with $50 million less than they thought. This is very serious. This is really very, very concerning to schools. Williams says she knows more cuts are coming and estimates Union could be going into the next school year with $2 million in budget cuts.
It's tragic. It means that public schools will yet again face another round of devastating cuts, and that's not good for Oklahoma students.
Melissa Abdo is with Stand for Children Oklahoma, a group that focuses on strengthening public schools. She says the onus is on state lawmakers to fix this.
It is definitely time for bold leadership from our lawmakers, and they must keep every revenue-raising measure on the table in order to address this.
State Superintendent Joy Hoffmeister released a statement this afternoon saying that this is no doubt a burden on these school districts, but she's optimistic about the rebounding economy. Reporting live in Tulsa, I'm Annie Chang, News on 6.
The Tulsa School Board finally approved new contracts with 2 teachers' unions at its meeting tonight. News on 6 anchor Aaron Conrad is on that story with the details. Aaron?
Well, Terry, these contract negotiations happen every school year, and they're between the school board and the teachers union, the TCTA. Now, at the beginning of the school year, the board and the union decided to postpone the negotiations until January because of what they say has been significant uncertainty in our state. Now, they were anticipating another possible revenue failure like Annie mentioned earlier, which was announced today. So in January, with this revenue failure likely, they began those negotiations and tonight approved that plan. Now, while the board did acknowledge that this agreement does not contain the type of pay raise teachers deserve here, they were able to factor in a 1.4% base salary increase for the majority of teachers. Now, for those teachers who have hit the top of the pay scale, they will see a base salary increase of 0.7%. These pay increases will also be paid retroactively.
What we were able to do is provide them with it's essentially a catch-up arrangement where they are being paid for an appropriate salary based upon their years of service. That's not certainly the maximum that we would like to provide them ever in any situation, but it's what we were able to afford, and they understood that.
Well, surprisingly, no representatives from the teachers union were here at the board meeting tonight, so we really weren't able to talk to anyone to find out what the union thinks about this agreement. But TPS does tell us that they were able to negotiate some wording into this contract that helps alleviate some of the duties and make things easier for day-to-day for teachers. For now, we're live in Tulsa. Erin Conrad, News on 6.
Since our news at 6 o'clock, we've learned a triple murder suspect is in jail in Osage County. Melvin Porter faces 3 counts of felony murder for the January deaths of Thomas Brown Jr., his mother Kara, and her boyfriend inside a home on East 29th Street North in Tulsa. Police believe Thomas Brown was the target, and his mother and her boyfriend were killed because they happened to be there at the time.
At the Capitol today, House Bill 1712 passing through the Insurance Committee. That bill would get rid of health care mandates for insurance companies that sell policies in Oklahoma. That means they would not have to offer insurance to customers with pre-existing conditions, despite the federal Affordable Care Act that says otherwise. Some groups are concerned, of course, particularly those who just last year pushed through a law that mandates coverage for those on the autism spectrum, for instance. Legislators are pushing a bill designed to make it harder for Oklahomans to get divorced. Supporters say it would put serious restrictions on no-fault divorces in an attempt to keep families together. The bill passed its first hurdle today and now on its way to the full House.
This is an attempt to encourage people to really fight for the great outcomes that can come from a marriage. It's worth fighting for. It's worth trying to save if it becomes difficult.
The Census Bureau says Oklahoma has one of the highest divorce rates in the nation. Opponents of the bill believe not allowing for a no-fault divorce could put women and children in danger, especially those in abusive relationships. A bill that would allow Oklahoma business owners to turn away customers because of ideological differences has advanced out of a Senate committee. Senate Bill 197 would allow business owners to turn away anyone based on their conscience. The bill's author says, for instance, it would allow a Muslim caterer to turn down a job at a pork barbecue, but opponents say the bill goes much deeper than religious exceptions.
This says that if somebody has any belief, if their conscience tells them that they should not do business or allow an LGBT person or an interracial couple or a divorced person, any of these folks into their businesses, that they can be denied.
That bill passed out of committee 7-4. Opponents say if it becomes law, they will fight it in court.
Tulsa attorney Gary Richardson has formed an exploratory committee for next year's governor's race. Richardson's looking at running as a Republican. In 2002, Richardson ran as an independent against Democrat Brad Henry and Republican Steve Largent and won more than 14% of the vote, coming in third in that race. Well, since our news at 6 o'clock, we've learned the new director of the EPA, Scott Pruitt, turned over more than 7,500 documents from his time at the Oklahoma Attorney General's office. The office says it has gone above and beyond a judge's order. A watchdog group, the Center for Media and Democracy, requested the emails 2 years ago over concern that Pruitt's ties to energy companies affected his work as AG. A federal judge ordered Pruitt to turn over the correspondence last week. A second batch of documents will be released by February 27th. Pruitt was confirmed as EPA director by the U.S. Senate on Friday. And today he gave his first address to the EPA's staff. Pruitt started off by offering an olive branch.
I seek to be a good listener. Those of you that have been here for quite some time, whether it's in the air area or water or whatever area that you may be in, I look forward to spending time with you.
Told EPA employees he is a big believer in solving problems through compromise and with civility. Perhaps the best clue as to where the agency is headed under Pruitt, he finished by saying he believes it's possible to be both pro-energy and pro-environment.
Back here at home, Coweta police no longer believe someone tried to abduct a 6-year-old boy from his yard yesterday afternoon after they released these photos of a car seen leaving the area. They say a man came forward and said he and his wife were in it. Police don't believe the couple was trying to take the boy. The boy's father said the car pulled up and a man got out and walked toward the boy as he stood in the yard. He claims once the man spotted him in a window in the house, the man ran back to the car and sped off. Police say to reduce any further confusion, they will release more details after their investigation is finished. Well, detectives up in Bartlesville say 2 teenagers have been arrested for using a slingshot to shatter the windows of several cars over the weekend.
And that's one of the stories you might have missed today. Police say at least 10 vehicles were damaged. The teens were connected to the crime after a patrol officer pulled them over and saw the slingshot in their car. Police say the teens and their parents are cooperating with the investigation.
The wife of a man injured in a gas well explosion says he's recovering. Jason McCabe was choppered to a Tulsa hospital Thursday when the gas well he was working on near Quinton exploded. The McAllister News Capital was told by McCabe's wife that he had surgery on his legs where he suffered third-degree burns. The cause of the explosion is still under investigation.
And new tonight, you can now dance anywhere you want in the city of Henrietta. A law that's been on the books since the 1970s banned dancing near churches or schools. A Valentine's dance had to be canceled earlier this year because of that law. So the city council put the issue up for a vote tonight and decided it was time to dance. Well, if you like warm weather, you might feel like dancing. Coming up in 6 minutes, Trav tells us how warm it's going to get on the Osage Casino Skycam network.
A Tulsa teenager isn't letting anything slow her down. How she's back in competition just weeks after surgery and doing it all hands-free.
Plus, how one company is making it a little easier to help struggling green country schools.